Right. Thanks everyone for joining the second session that we've hosted for people. So I'm going to presume that people have seen our first session. If not, they can always find that in the email that we sent out. We sent a link to that session. That gives a more comprehensive tour of all the features that we have at Bharosa. This video is going to be focused on a couple things. One, giving you a sense of the features that we've released since our initial video, because we're always hard at work at creating more and more features for people. The second thing that we're going to focus on is giving you a sense of where we're going from here. And the reason I want to do that is because a lot of our best ideas come from you guys, and we're really building for you and to add value to you. And so I want to share with you our roadmap to the extent it sparks some thinking on your end as well about features you'd like us to build and whether or not you like the direction we're going to be going in. So please don't be shy in terms of sending us feedback at support@bharosaclub.com. Your feedback is always welcome. And the third thing I want to discuss on today's call, actually Anita will be discussing this, is plans to try advisory service, which we're going to be launching in beta. So if there are any people that are interested in that, then reach out on support@bharosaclub.com. So we're going to investigate whether that's something that we want to do permanently or not. And we're going to test it out with a few people. So first come, first serve on that. So before we start, I wanted to thank you all because we hit a milestone. We hit 50 million US dollars in AUM in 2 months, and we've done no marketing. One of the biggest pushes we get at Bharosa is, why don't you guys market? And there's a reason for that. We don't market because we want to understand if our products are good enough to get you guys to refer them to your friends and family. And what we're seeing is that that's happening, and that's really encouraging to us. And we hope that continues, and we hope to continue to live up to the standards that you have of us. So thanks so much for spreading the word, and please continue doing so if you believe that our products are helping you and can help people in your sphere. So with that, let's start with the first agenda topic of going through the new features that we've released since our last session. So just going to share the screen and we're going to cover some of them and how to get the most out of them. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. So the first feature I'm going to cover here is something called bets. Now, bets is designed to answer one thing for people. A lot of times you'll buy lots of mutual funds almost at random. Someone will recommend a fund to you. It'll look good. You'll add it to your portfolio. Then someone else will recommend another fund. You'll add it to your portfolio. Or maybe you're using an advisor and he's assembling the portfolio for you, but you really won't know how your portfolio rolls up and what the essential bets you're making in that portfolio are. So this section is designed to help you understand what makes your portfolio different. And anytime you deviate from the average portfolio in the market is a time that you're implicitly taking a bet. Right? If everyone is betting 75% on large companies, 20% on medium companies, and 5% on small companies, and you're betting 90% on large companies, then you're implicitly making a bet that large companies are going to do better. You may not have consciously intended to make that bet, but the way your portfolio is constructed implies that it will do better only if large companies do better, and it will do worse if large companies do worse. So that's really the essence of this section. It's helping you realize that even though you may not consciously be trying to make a bet, just by happenstance about how you've constructed your portfolio, you may actually be making bets. And the second thing this section is designed to answer is also, if you are making a bet, we want to arm you with data. And this could be a conscious bet. You may be intentionally betting on a certain theme, sector, company size, but we want to arm you with the data to monitor that bet. And the whole rationale there is you should be able to measure any bet that you're taking. If you want to bet on the IT sector, right? By all means, go ahead and do it, but you should know how big or small that bet is. And you should also know how that bet is performing so that you will be able to optimally monitor your portfolio and figure out if your bets are working. And there is no shame in not taking a bet. So one thing some of you may see in this section is, what bets are you making in your equity portfolio? It may actually say, we don't detect any bets that you're making. Your portfolio closely resembles the average portfolio. That is not necessarily a bad thing. And if you don't have concrete views, our recommendation is it's much better to not make a bet than make a bet that you don't believe in. So that's the purpose of the section. So let's get into a little bit of how it works. So I have a demo account loaded up here. Again, this is an actual user whose identity has been masked. But basically with this portfolio, when it's run through our analytics, it says that this person is making one single bet in the portfolio. They're betting on large size companies. And the bets will range in types from not just cap size, so not just large, medium, small companies. It'll also tell you if you're betting on sectors. So for example, if this person was betting on agri companies, it would say agriculture is a sector you're betting. But in this case, there's just one bet the person's making. And it says here it's a medium-ish bet. So it's a medium-sized bet, not too big. So if you click this button, what you'll see is some information pop up about the bet. So first you'll get a sense of the size of your bet. It'll say how big is your bet on large size companies. So it'll show you what your portfolio looks like. So 84% of this portfolio, the equity portion of this portfolio, is betting on large companies. So large cap companies. And that compares to an average portfolio of 75%. So this person has almost 10% excess exposure to large companies than a traditional portfolio, an average portfolio in the market. So then the question is this good or bad? There are different ways to interpret this, but if the person is doing this for a conscious reason, they want to be exposed to large companies, then that's good. If it's an unconscious decision, then maybe this is something you want to unwind because there's no reason that you have this bet. So the next section focuses on how to monitor the bet and see if it's performing for you or not. So we have a section called, how is your bet on whatever you're betting on doing? So these are the various time periods you can look at. You can look at inception. So the earliest date that we detected that you started making this bet, or 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, and the time periods will vary based on how early you made the bet. So this person seems to have made the bet approximately 1 or 2 years back, which is why these are the options. But then this chart shows you exactly if this bet has helped you or hurt you. So you can see for this person, the bet since inception has actually helped them. The bet has given them a return of 14.5% IRR. And the average portfolio over the same period has given them a 13.4% IRR. So in this case, the fact that they were exposed to large companies actually has helped their portfolio. So A minus B is a positive number. So your bet has paid off over this period. So you can use this to consistently check whether your bets are paying off or not. And you can look at different time periods. So maybe you can say, okay, but is the bet helping me recently? And if you look at recently, no, the bets actually hurt them. They would have been better off if they had less exposure to large cap companies. So this can be a very helpful tool in understanding what you're betting on, how it's working, and how to migrate your portfolio going forward. The last feature I'll introduce on this bet section is if you hover over the bet, it'll show you exactly which schemes are responsible for you making that bet. So you may say, oh, I didn't know I was betting on large companies this much. Why am I betting on large companies? So if you hover over this, you'll see exactly all the funds that are contributing to you having higher than average large cap exposure. So you can see this person has 5 funds that are giving them high exposure to large cap companies. So if the person wants to unwind the bet, the natural thing to consider is maybe taking away a little money from these kind of funds and putting them into medium and small cap companies. Okay, so that's the first section I wanted to show you. The second section I wanted to show you is how are your Bharosa bundle schemes doing? Now, it's really important to Bharosa that we show you data that helps you make the best decisions for your portfolio. So in this case, what is a Bharosa bundle? A Bharosa bundle, if you ever clicked on the invest more or invest button on the site, you'll go to the investment playground where Bharosa actually gives you default bundles for each category of your money. And these are low cost funds that Bharosa recommends, right? If you don't have specific views, then these are great places to start and park your money because they're very low cost and they will tend to perform in line with the market. So we want you to understand, if you've ever taken our advice on this, right, our suggestions on this, that you're able to track whether this is paying off or not for your portfolio. So in this person's case, they have taken some of the default schemes in. So if you hover over the bundle, you can see exactly which schemes are in this category. So you can see here, they have 3 folios of Axis Nifty 100. They have ICICI Pru Nifty Small Cap 250, Motilal Oswal Nifty Mid Cap. And if you class all these together and measure the performance of the Bharosa default picks in the portfolio versus the rest of the portfolio, you can see that actually it's outperformed the rest of the portfolio. The rest of the portfolio is given a minus 2.1% Vasool, whereas Bharosa's bundle has given a minus 0.9% Vasool. And just as a reminder, we measure Vasool by comparing the performance of the scheme to the overall market. So in this case, the bundles have actually performed better than the rest of the portfolio. That won't always be the case, but more likely than not, it should be the case for most people. That's why we pick these funds. There may be people who are very good at picking active funds, and this will help you understand if the Bharosa picks are helping you or hurting you. The only caution I'd give you here is make sure you give enough of a time period before drawing conclusions. I would say a minimum of 6 months you want before you're able to firmly say if something's helping or hurting you, because these numbers are very sensitive in short periods. In fact, we don't even show you this chart if you've only held the scheme for a month, because we say it's way too soon to even look at the data. This chart only starts showing up after 1 month of holding the scheme. So that's the other feature I wanted to show you. And now there's one last feature I want to show you, which is on a different screen of mine. So I'm going to just stop this share. I'm going to start another screen share and we'll cover that. Okay, so this I think is one of the most powerful features. And the whole concept here is, how do you know if you're moving your portfolio in the right direction or wrong direction? The whole purpose of the Bharosa platform is to give you data to arm you to make better decisions in the future. And we want to give our users a sense of, is their portfolio moving in the right direction or not? And so what we've built is something called what we call the what changed page. So anytime you refresh your data on Bharosa, when you go and upload a fresh set of statements, you're going to see this summary appear on the page. So it's going to basically tell you since your last refresh. So the last refresh was on March 9th, 2023. This refresh was on June 15th, 2023. So we're going to tell you what exactly changed over that period. How did your portfolio change? Did it get better? Did it get worse? What's going on, right? So here you will see how your portfolio value has changed for you. And so here you're going to see the portfolio value at the beginning of the period, how much fresh money was invested during the period. So you can see 16,000 rupees were freshly invested in the portfolio. And you're going to see what the market contributed in terms of gain or loss on the portfolio value. You're going to see where your portfolio value ended. The goal of this section is to show you, are you saving more or redeeming more? Our advice is don't focus too much on this investment value. That's going to go up and down depending on the market. Key thing to focus on is, are you saving to your expectation or redeeming to your expectations? That is the key punchline on this chart. Over small periods, investment value can be positive, can be negative. Okay, now the next section is very useful. It's the before after section. This is going to show you, based on the moves that you did in your portfolio, how do the key statistics measure up before and after? Did the moves you make your portfolio healthier or more unhealthy? And so basically what you'll see in the before column is what your portfolio looked like last time. So you're going to see that you spent 0.39% of your portfolio value as fees before. And this time the user is now spending 0.35% of their portfolio value as fees. So they have managed to move to cheaper fees. They've lowered their expense ratio, which is all else equal, a very, very good thing, because fees are obviously coming out of your returns, right? The next section is Vasool. How much of your portfolio is in Paisa Vasool funds? So basically with Bharosa's analytics, we're able to classify whether a fund is delivered for you or not. This is basically telling you that what percentage of your portfolio is sitting in funds that are delivering versus not. So here you can see that before 60% was in in Paisa Vasool funds. Now it's 82%. So whatever this user has done has been very good. It's improved the health of their portfolio. Simplicity, number of funds, all else equal, it's better to be in fewer funds than more funds because it's easier to monitor them and stay on top of the funds. So again, this person has reduced their number of funds from 31 to 26. So again, this is a good thing. Now, if you want to understand exactly all the decisions you made and whether these are, good decisions or decisions that need to be looked at more closely, this is going to give you the detail. It's going to go through all the moves you made, and it's going to tell you whether this is something that makes superficial sense or needs a closer look, right? So important thing to realize is Bharosa's data is just helping you, right? You may disagree with our data. We may tell you, hey, this needs a closer look. You may say, no, I did that intentionally, right? You always have the right and you should believe that you can overrule Bharosa, but Bharosa is here to help you make better decisions, right? So never look at this and say, oh, Bharosa is saying it's a bad decision, so it must be a bad decision. That's not what we're trying to do, right? We're just trying to say, okay, this warrants a closer look, right? So this person, you can see for each fund that they made a move in, we tell them whether it's a good decision, whether it's, if it's shaded in green here, then it's a decision that on the surface looks very healthy. They added money to a fund that is performing for them. That is a good decision, all else equal. If it's shaded in yellow, it means it's too early to tell, or it may be a decision that needs a little closer look. So for example, this is an orange, removed from a Paisa Vasool fund. So some money was redeemed from a Paisa Vasool fund. You may just want to take a closer look at that to see if that's something you really want to do, right? So this section will help you understand the details of how this 60% moved to 82%. You can see clearly that the person was able to drive this improvement in their portfolio because they added money to funds that are Paisa Vasool, and they took money away from funds that are not Paisa Vasool. Very simple. The portfolio is becoming healthier, right? So the last section in this page is basically about the holding power of the portfolio. So as we said earlier, Bharosa thinks the best way to look at your portfolio is how long you should be prepared to hold the assets that you're holding in your portfolio. Matching these amounts to your actual needs are the best way to make sure your portfolio is optimized for you. So this person, for example, took their emergency fund from 4 lakhs to 0. Right? Is this a good decision or bad decision? It depends. Bharosa cannot answer that for you, but it can give you the data to ask that question yourself. So it may look a little strange that you have no emergency fund, but maybe you don't need an emergency fund. Maybe you're sitting with a cash account or a savings account that has adequate liquidity for you, right? So this will be very useful in you answering those questions for yourself. The last thing I want to call out on this page is that you can choose to view this data for any investor in your group. So for example, in your account. So this person has 3 investors under their account. They can choose to view it for each of those investors. So it's a very easy way for you to make sure things are moving in the right direction. And if you use this tool well, I'm confident that your portfolio will move to be much, much healthier in the future. So that's kind of the features that we've released. So that was the first agenda item that I wanted to discuss. The second one that I wanted to talk to you all about was where we're going from here. And this is probably the exciting bit, because right now we're just covering mutual funds. But on our agenda is extending this same technology that we've built into stocks. Because stocks are nothing but collections of, mutual funds are nothing but collections of stocks or bonds. So all this power that we've built with mutual funds can be now also extended into stocks. So that is something that we are working on actively. It'll take some time for us to release it, but we think it'll be extremely powerful for people to start analyzing their direct equity portfolios as well. So that's very high on our list. The second thing we're working on is helping you find good active funds. So what do I mean by that? I showed you that section about bets. The key missing piece from that is, let's say you want to make a bet. I want to make a bet on FMCG because I think FMCG is going to do well in the future. Nothing in Bharosa right now helps me find the right way to pick an investment to express that bet. So the next feature we're going to work on is helping people find the answer to that question. If you want to bet on FMCG, how do you find the right fund for you? So that's going to be a section called Explore Funds, and it's going to help you find new mutual funds to add to your portfolio. And it's going to be pretty exciting. I think a lot of you have asked for this feature. So it's something that, like I said, the best ideas come from you all. We're working very hard to create what we think is the best way to find new investment ideas. So with that, I want to turn it over to Anita. But before that, I just want to give you a little understanding of why we are considering the advisory business. So our goal at Bharosa is creating tech that gives you data to improve your decision making. But we also realize that there is a learning curve to this data. Some of you are very comfortable. You've been managing your mutual fund portfolios for donkey's years, and you know how to make these decisions. And that's great. But Bharosa's mission is not just to serve the experts in the room. We want to serve everybody. And we are confident that our platform eventually can be completely do it yourself. There is no need for Bharosa. But we also know that that cannot happen overnight. And so the whole idea with our advisory beta is that we want to help people understand how we would make decisions if we were them, with the data that we have in front of them, and coach them into eventually becoming do-it-yourself users of Bharosa. So that is the backdrop about what Anita is going to discuss with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to her.
Okay, guys. So advisory, we are focused on 2 parts. One is just the mutual fund advisory, where we are charging 1,000 rupees over and above the insights. So the insights will be 1,000 rupees for a year after the free look period. For the mutual fund advisory, which is hand-holding for advice and execution, what we are planning to do is charge 1,000 rupees per family unit. So the family unit could be either you alone, or you and your wife, or you and your wife and your child, etc. Okay. We are doing this as an RIA where we have a license from SEBI. So we will be doing it really properly, where we will record every conversation will be minuted in an email, sent to you for approval. There will be an agreement before that, etc. Okay. And like Sahil said, the objective is not to keep a person on advisory forever. We would like to convert you to a DIY or do-it-yourself user. Of course, we recognize the fact that some people may never want to be DIY users. They might say that, look, $1,000 a month, I'm willing to pay that. I don't want to deal with this. Okay. We recognize that there will be some people like that. And there will be plenty of other people who say, look, help me get started. I'll do it. I will learn. Teach me. In 6 months, I'll be on my own. Or 3 months, I'll be on my own, or whatever. So that's the first advisory, which is the mutual fund advisory only. The second advisory is a more comprehensive advisory, which is a 360-degree view of a person's, mutual funds is just one aspect of your life. There could be stocks, there could be insurance, there could be a portfolio in America or whatever. Okay. We're going to be a little limited in the number of people we are going to take for the beta. We are capping it because we're doing a lot of manual work for this until the tools become more developed to make this a much easier process. So if anyone is interested in the advisory, please send an email to either support@bharosaclub.com or advisory@bharosaclub.com, and we can go into details of how this works, etc. And you can see if it works for you. Again, it's only limited slots, so we might have to say no because we're a small team and we don't want to disappoint anyone. So I think that's it for the advisory. There are some questions that have come in on the talk, Sahil.
Sure. Yeah. Before that, just real quick on the advisory, just to summarize. So there'll be two flavors, as Anita mentioned. One is good for people that that only want to understand how to use the Bharosa tools to make decisions. So it will only cover things that are in the Bharosa platform. So for example, as we add stocks, that would also cover stocks because it's in the Bharosa platform. That is low cost because it's easy for us to, it doesn't require a lot of manual work on our end. The second flavor that Anita was talking about is expensive because there's a lot of manual work that we need to do. We think it can add a lot of value for the right customer, but this is right for people that have very complex needs. For example, they may have real estate, they may have stocks, they may have mutual funds, they may have life insurance policies, they may have pensions, all kinds of things, right? And that will cover everything, right? So that is a very different product from the earlier one that Anita was talking about. And again, both are in beta. So as Anita was saying, it's first come, first serve, and please don't be disappointed if you get turned away or whatever. We do not want to take on customers if we don't feel we can deliver on them. So if it does reach a point that it's released broadly, then you can sign up then, right? So let us know quickly if you're interested. Email us at support@bharosaclub.com.
Okay, and there's
okay,
one,
we can go to the questions.
There's one more portion, which is just the execution only assistance. For that, because there are enough people who say, look, I know what to do. I know how to understand your insights, and just help me execute this. So we will be providing that service also. Okay, so now on to the questions. For the bundle section to show, how do I have to invest in the, do I have to invest in the whole bundle or in the proportion of Bharosa insights, or can I choose to modify? This person doesn't want small cap.
Okay, that's a good question. See, Bharosa's bundles are just shown there as a starting point for you. We encourage you to modify these as you need. The idea is this is a very good starting point. If all you do is just invest in the Bharosa bundle, we think in most cases, this will be a terrific investment for people, right? That being said, if you want to modify it and edit it, replace it, whatever, I think that's a great thing to do. There should be a logic to everything you're doing though. So for example, if you're removing small cap from there, there's a reason that the Bharosa bundle had small cap in there. It's because we want this bundle to give you an average portfolio. We don't want you to take any bets, right? Unless you consciously do so. So if you remove small cap, you're going to be taking a bet because you're going to be changing the proportions of the components. So So sounds like that person actually does not want small cap exposure. And that's a totally rational thing to do. They've decided they don't want small cap exposure, so they can remove it. Our bundles section will still show how the large cap and mid cap are doing. So you do not need to have invested in the entirety of the bundle for it to be picked up in that section. But if you choose another scheme, right, of another flavor of it. So for example, we have the Nifty 100, and I think we are recommending Axis Nifty 100. If you go and choose Bandhan Nifty 100, right, that will not be picked up because that's a different scheme. So that's the mechanics of how the thing works.
Okay, the second question is, my DMAT funds do not show on the cash statement.
Yeah, so this is a common problem that we're seeing crop up, and it's unfortunate because the intent of the cash statement is to pick up everything. But we're seeing it in particular with Zerodha coin folios. For some reason, they're not being picked up by the cash reporting. So what we're working on is a bandage for this, so that a person has a way to get those mutual funds in as well. So what we're going to do is basically create a import from Zerodha's statements into Bharosa. So you will be able to get these funds in as well. So I would say, again, give us a month on this, but we're working on it.
Okay, the next question is, how often should I refresh my portfolio?
Yeah, great question. I would actually recommend you do not refresh that frequently. And the reason why is I think that if you refresh and look at your portfolio too often, what happens is that the quality of the insights that you get diluted. Because it's like, if you see your child every day, you're never going to realize how much they've grown, right? As much as someone who hasn't seen them for a month and then suddenly sees them and says, oh my gosh, they've grown so much, right? The same approach holds with your portfolio. What I would say is that, I would do it only after you've made significant changes, and then refresh, and then see the impact of those changes, because the impact will get magnified. You'll be actually able to intuitively understand, is your portfolio getting healthier or not? That's my personal view. We allow you to refresh your portfolios on a weekly basis. So that's the quickest you can do it on the Bharosa platform. And you feel free to do it as often as you want, but that's my personal view.
The next question is, I did not know I was taking these bets, but in the bets also the bundle funds are showing and some others. I'm unclear on how to look at this. I want to move to index funds. So should I wait for them to cross a year and then act? How will I know how much tax I'm going to pay?
A very good question. So the user is pointing out a few gaps in our product right now that we will be working to fix. So let me first deal with the first part of the question, which is, why are bundle schemes showing up in a bet? And the reason for that is, a bundle is a collection of funds. If you remove an element of the bundle, then it becomes a bet, right? Or if in totality your portfolio, let's say you added the bundle, but the portfolio as at large, bets on a certain sector, and one of the bundle components also bets heavily on that sector, then that bundle component also will show up in the bets. Basically, the bet section is designed to help you figure out how to remove a bet. And it's doing that by showing you every scheme that is contributing to that bet. So if you're heavy in large cap before you entered into Bharosa's bundles, and then you bought Bharosa's bundle, the large cap component of Bharosa's bundles will also be making a bet on large cap. So it may actually be better for you to skip that and just add the medium and small parts of Bharosa's bundle, right? So that's the essence of why a bundle may show up in your bets. In terms of how to manage a bet, there are a couple ways. let's say you're in this bet for no reason, like the person was saying, there's no reason they're betting on something, right? Then my recommendation is the best way to deal with this is anytime you add money, you make sure you don't add money to a fund that's giving you exposure to that bet. So you dilute out the bet over time, right? That's much better than exiting, because anytime you exit, you incur a capital gains, right? Now, the missing piece of our product is in helping you see what your cap gains would be if you exit any arbitrary fund. We're going to be adding that also as an upcoming feature. So that'll help you plan much more in terms of how to exit and when to exit. Because the problem with diluting out the bet by adding new money is it takes longer, right? And if you have a very large bet on something, you may not be able to add new money fast enough to dilute the bet. So sometimes you may have to exit to unwind a bet, and that's okay. We're going to add some tools to help you figure out how to exit in the most tax efficient manner.
That's it. There'll be no more questions. Anyone from the audience, any
I
questions?
think some have come through on the chat. The two
No,
questions I see.
we've addressed. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Are you giving advice to NRIs, OCI? You want to take that, Anita?
Yes, in the comprehensive, yes. In the mutual fund only part, yes. But you have to understand that if you live in Canada or the United States, if you're a resident there, then there are limitations to what can be done with your portfolio. In the comprehensive side, I think that's fine. NRI is okay.
Then there's a question about, do you plan to include tax issues, or where can we get the information? So on this, we will include standard tax information, meaning, so there's already on the website, and one of the features I didn't cover today that we released post the video is you can download all your data, including your capital gains, all of that stuff can be downloaded into CSVs. So standard capital gains calculations and all are available, but they're available from the Indian context, not from the NRI context. That is not something that we cover right now. And honestly, we don't expect to be able to cover that for a very long time. So, you know, Sanjay, do you want to speak to where they could get that information, or?
Yeah, okay. So maybe I should start my video.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, so on the advice, so like Anita said, there are two parts. One is just helping you with execution, like hand holding, etc. And there could be one-on-one sessions, say, I want to understand bets, right? Or I want to understand XYZ, whatever it is. So these are 30-minute sessions, which are like, okay, you bought an iPhone, you want to understand some features. So Apple has a thing where you can book a 30-minute session and understand, you know, how to take better photographs or whatever. So there are these sessions which will actually, where Anita is going to be the person who handles these sessions, okay? Because she's not authorized to give advice. The only person at Bharosa who's authorized to give advice is me, okay? So if you sign up for any advisory product, you will be getting advice from me in various sessions. Okay, now the thing is that any advisor cannot be an expert in everything. So like, for instance, you need a will, you need tax advice. One of the people that I'm dealing with currently, they have some gold. They want to know, can they demat the gold? And so on and so forth, right? So there could be myriad issues, right? Like somebody wants to form a trust because they have an older person who is kind of disabled. So what the advisor, like if I'm the advisor, I'm giving comprehensive advice, is that I will work with the person that I'm giving advice to try and find a competent person who is a third party who can work on these kind of issues. So either the person already has, like in tax, they have a CA. So I could work with their CA. If they're not happy with the CA, I could try and find them another CA and they could evaluate that particular CA, right? So RIA is like an orchestra conductor. You know, they can't play every instrument, but they can find people who play the instrument in there. So does that make it clear, kind of thing?
Sure. Any questions?
Okay, great. So I think that's it in terms of questions that we've gotten. So why don't we wrap up?
Okay,
the
I'm going to
session?
stop the recording.